Yep, that's there.
Is the gauge supposed to say empty?
You can't trust those things. Don't worry, we're tethered for safety.
Asking the right question can greatly impact your future.
Are you certified for this?
Technically, no.
Especially when it comes to your finances.
Do you have a question?
Are you a certified financial planner?
Yes, I'm a CFP professional.
CFP professionals are committed to acting in your best interest. That's why it's gotta be a CFP. Find your CFP professional at letsmakeaplan.org.
After a major accident, one question comes to mind. What happens next? That's where Wilshire Law Firm comes in. With over 100 attorneys, we've helped recover more than $2 billion for our clients. Let the firm that's been recognized as #1 in personal injury settlements fight for the compensation you deserve. That's what happens next. For a free consultation 24/7, call Wilshire Law Firm, 1-800-ABCDEFG. Wilshire Law Firm, one more top 100 personal injury settlements in 2024 than any other law firm in California, as reported by TopVerdict.com. Wilshire Law Firm is in L.A.
Last year sucked. This year, I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to get organized. I'm going to do things differently with my life. Sound familiar? Your New Year's resolutions are well-intentioned, but then after a couple of weeks, it feels too hard to keep up. Don't beat yourself up. Your subconscious mind is dictating your actions, even if you say you want something else. With the right mindset shifts, even small ones, repetition and my help, you can rewire your subconscious mind to take action that feels easy, change your results, and live a life you love. Go to lifecoachsharon.com and get your complimentary mindset toolkit.
Welcome back to the program. It's the Vicki McKenna Show. I just want to throw this out there. You've made a mistake if you bought Meta glasses. You have made a mistake. I'm just saying that. Everything you're looking at with your Meta glasses is being sent to an AI data center with people processing all of the video, all of it. You're walking in your bathroom, going to the bathroom, you got your Meta glasses on. Guess who gets to watch that? Yeah, everyone's watching you do that. Just saying, big mistake to have bought those things. All right, but I don't want to talk about that just yet. I actually do want to talk about that at length at some point, but I want to talk about this weird fracture. Maybe that's not the right word, but it is the beginning of a fracture, at least, that is going on the right. And Jim Pfaff from the Conservative Caucus joins me on the program to talk about this. Jim, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming back.
Thanks for having me. Good to see you. I'm glad to be here.
All right. Don't buy Meta glasses, okay? Just don't do it. Just say no. No. Yeah.
Hey, by the way, on that, Jason Calacanis of the All In podcast, he said, that they and ChatGPT, they're stealing everything from you. Don't even touch them.
Right.
That Mark Zuckerberg school stealing everything you do. It's absolutely.
Yeah, including taking videos of you while you're peeing and doing other things, just saying other things.
Crazy.
Imagine what goes under the category other things. All right, so so when I say the beginnings of a fracture, I'm not even sure, just because, so I'm going to describe this. You have this set of sort of, I wouldn't even call them black pillars, because those people just think there's just no hope. These are people actively looking to fracture the MAGA movement on the right. They are people from the right or formerly from the right who appear to be actively sabotaging the MAGA movement. And they're doing it in a really specific way. They seem to be wanting to undermine the largest share, the sort of stabilizing structure of conservatism, which tends to be evangelical Christians. And they're doing it by seeding, anti-Israel hate. They're seeding anti-Trumpism. They're working in soft socialist principles. And I'm talking, I'll name names, people like Tucker, people like Megyn Kelly, not so much Candace, although she's part of it. Even people like Bannon. And so I'm not sure how big this is, how potent it is, but it's definitely there because it is getting a reaction, a very aggressive reaction from activists in the conservative movement. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I will say this. People are where they are. In other words, I think sometimes when we see these sorts of trends happening, there's no doubt it has an effect, but sometimes we don't give credit enough to people eventually getting it. One of my hard and fast rules of politics is, dealing with what goes on in Washington, D.C. The American people are slow on the uptake, but they eventually get it. And I sort of think that's going to happen with all of this. But that's not to say it's not insignificant. It's a really troubling thing that's happening. I think one of the reasons that this is taking is because you have had people on the right who have been as devoted to Israel, or always thought they had to be as devoted to Israel as they are to the United States. And I think that they're recognizing, no, Israel's not perfect. The Jonathan Pollard thing kind of sort of began this crack, if you really think about it, back in the 1980s. He was an American CIA, I think it was CIA or NSA, giving stuff to Israel. And we found out at that time that Israel was spying on us. And, that happens in all that tradecraft. But at some point, people said, oh, wait a minute, hold on, they're not perfect. And so when these really more rancid messages against Israel start to come, then it takes a little bit. But I think people are processing that. I'm not yet convinced that we're down this anti-Semitic path that's going to entirely break down the conservative right. But it is having a big effect because it's something that people haven't processed yet. And people like Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson are pushing it strongly enough, and they have been respected enough, and rightly so in many ways, that now all of a sudden people are like, oh, wait a minute, let me think what's happening here. But again, I think in the long run, people are smart enough to see what's going on. But this is going to be nagging us for some time to come. It ain't going away quickly. And that's my big concern.
So my big concern is that as well, and we are talking about people who are not just simply criticizing, sort of an unquestionable fealty to Israel. It's people who are actively promoting wild hoaxes and anti-Semitism in ways that are brutal and ugly. And Tucker is doing that. And I used to love him. I mean, I used to call him my spirit animal. And the 180 that he had done is whiplash inducing, but it's rank anti-Semitism. And it appears to be in an effort to capture young Gen Z men and to target the evangelical Christians, because what it is doing, it's trying to take the young Gen Z men who are evangelical Christians and break any kind of sort of biblical argument they have for supporting, Jews as the chosen people, Israel generally as God's place, as God's people, and that's so it's not just working at the political level. It's also trying to it's also trying to undercut the religious commitment that evangelicals have, because everybody's getting soft, right? Everybody's church is getting soft. You've got Tallarico in Texas, who's a Presbyterian. You've got even some Baptists who are out there starting to preach the woke gospel. So that's what worries me, is that it's not so much my generation or yours. It's the young people who are edgelording. They love to say things that are offensive for the sake of being offensive. So accusing them of being anti-Semitic, it doesn't have any impact on them whatsoever. They're questioning everything because the whole structure that they were told they could trust by their parents, by their pastors, has fallen apart in front of them, and their opportunities are limited. So that's why I'm bringing this up. Otherwise, I would just say that's just a bunch of cranks, and we can marginalize them. I'm just not sure we can.
Well, listen, in terms of the theological aspects of this, dispensationalism, which I do not subscribe to, has been a serious influence on the church for a long period of time. And this gets into this Israel can do no wrong thing. There's no doubt, theologically speaking, God has had and will continue to have had his hand on Israel from the covenant that he made. But what we forget to recognize in this is they're human beings too. It's almost a godlike status that was put there, and therefore young people, when they see that godlike status was given to Israel, they start to rebel against it. But there are a couple factors here to really keep in mind that one of a change and one of a concern. So young people, they like to be radical. They think through things. They're learning about life. They get engaged, and then they grow up. That has historically been the case over and over and over again. But the challenge to that is, and I think that's going to happen in the long run, but the challenge is that you have so much theological claptrap that has taken over the church, not just the evangelical church, but in the Catholic Church as well,
100%.
too.
Garbage.
You're hearing it. That is not even, and it's not even theologically sound. I study theology pretty closely, and I'm no theologian, but I probably more than the average bear, and I'm saying that the heresy that is out there, the weirdo preaching, the name it and claim it prosperity gospel, it really took over this country, or the church in this country, through the 80s and 90s and even to today. But you also are seeing a shift away from that. You're seeing a re-emergence of thinking differently about all this.
Well, you're seeing a re-emergence of traditionalism, and that's where I'm concerned about these influencers. Is they're working through the influence of traditionalism, people who want traditionalism, and I'm so relieved to hear that young people are seeking out traditional faith lives, but at the same time, because they're raised on TikTok, they're raised on blue screens. Everything is about whatever influence is on their phone, is scrolling and giving them the dopamine hits at the moment. And kudos to the ones who have just attempted to reject that and seek out traditional faith. But that's where there's a weakness, and that's where Tucker is exploiting it right now. He's exploiting traditionalism and a desire for traditionalism, and not so much on Israel, although it's clear he hates Israel, and it's clear he does not much care for Jewish people at all, which is appalling. But then insinuate this sort of soft socialism. It's not a one-part message of everyone hates Israel. In the end of the day, what does that have to do with the United States? But it is taking that opening and inserting a soft socialism, this idea that you should have, a community economy, that you should, that using the soft language and the language that's really appealing of things like, shouldn't the economy serve the greater good? That's what he's doing. And that's what Megyn is doing as well, is taking the people interested in rejecting wokeism and the woke gospel and the utter failure of the churches, all of them, and wanting tradition, and then using that to say, you know what your tradition really says? The Catholic tradition really says socialism. The Bible really says socialism, and then introducing these themes. And even into and including a rejection of what's now been termed Americanism, and that's worrying me.
Well, by the way, the theological construct is obviously not socialism. I was just reading Exodus 22 this morning, talking about private property. God values individual liberty in governmental systems and the putting down of government systems, not the expansion of them. But you know what has happened with Tucker Carlson, and this is why I think it's emotional and may go away over time, is that Tucker is rebelling against everyone who he feels made him conform to something. And the irrational aspects of it are coming through because he gets very emotional about this stuff, because he's so frustrated with the political class that in the Republican Party that really has put a lot of stupid crap, and they've been false. I mean, we're just watching it happen right now with the Save America Act. We've got senators that are just totally spitting on the American people related to that bill, which everyone accepts and would be a political win for them. But they don't want to do it because they want to maintain their power. So this gets to the core of the problem as I see it. It's not Tucker Carlson or Megyn Kelly per se. They're feeding into something. The bigger problem is the breakdown of our institutions over time. Our political institutions don't revere, respect, and honor God as they did, even though they've always had political corruption. There was no respect for something higher. We used to have that even in our political institutions in this country, as horrible as they've always been. But we also have this breakdown of institutions in the church that go away from theological orthodoxy and move to weird, new ways of thinking about theological concepts that break down the fundamentals. So we don't have the church is just as bad as the culture when it comes to family and marriage. They're accepting abortion more and more over time.
You
They,
had
you're seeing a
James
greater-
Tallarico say that God likes abortion. He actually said it. Allegedly he is a Christian pastor running for Senate in Texas, and said that that the Bible justifies abortion, and that was when the angel Gabriel spoke to Mary.
And how much he admires, uses Mary as his argument for abortion. It's like the most insane thing you've ever heard. And saying how much he appreciates the courage of trans kids, And it all goes away from God's anthropology, his design for man. And until we can get these institutions back, you're going to see a consistent breakdown.
And you're going to see opportunists. And that's what I think Tucker is. I think he's angry. I think he's bitter. And I think he's an opportunist. I think Megyn Kelly's just following him. She can easily.
They're friends.
She can easily be swayed in any direction. It has become abundantly apparent. You've got really brainy guys like Bannon who are doing it too, but they're opportunists. And I don't even necessarily think they're not sincere in some of their frustration. I think Tucker, his rebellion is probably sincere, but a rejection of nonconformity is not actually a deep thought. But they're taking the opportunity that has just been presented to all of us, which is these broken institutions, the broken institution of the American church, the broken institution of American government, the broken institution of the American economy. I mean, I have a friend who left the country because of all of these broken institutions, and you couldn't talk him off the ledge if you paid him $1 million. It's so broken that it's easy to to be broken by it. And then if you're very influential, you can influence other people. And why wouldn't you? Because you think you're so wise and you think you've seen all of this stuff and you want to impart your wisdom, even if it's just pure rebellion.
Well, and we have seen over the last 200 years, theologically, a corrosive effect of an often godless philosophy in theological institutions and a twisting of orthodoxy that has taken away this foundation that had been really strong in the church and in this country until about 70 years ago. And then in the post-World War II era, all this began to break down, the emergence of existentialism that got its way. Remember, this isn't a whole lot different than that emergence of existentialism, Camus, Sartre, and them, that were engaging in a despair in the culture that had come because everything that seemed real broke down. So the way that you fix that is to be urgent in where you are to conform to truth, which takes a lot of work and a lot of effort. If we're capable of doing that, and I see some signs of that maybe happening, it's a little bit under tow right now, but I think it could be there. If it can reemerge, we can get things back on track. But when I look historically at cultures that begin to break these institutions down, go away from an objective understanding of truth, go away from the right thinking that's based upon the basic logical laws of non-contradiction and causation, where we cannot truly, kind of process everything before us objectively, then those cultures tend to fall and go away. And we're seeing this all over the West right now.
Yep.
It is a major, major concern, and if we don't get it back, then there are going to be new emergent countries elsewhere that are going to pick up from it.
It's not mystifying. It might be mystifying why Tucker just decided to do a 180. That might be mystifying, but what is going on and the influence that he is having is not that mystifying. I appreciate the time on the program, Jim. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Vicki.
From the Conservative Caucus, Jim Pfaff, and we'll be right back.
As a contractor, I don't pay for materials I don't use. So why would I pay for stuff I don't need in my mobile plan? That's why my biz plan from Verizon Business is so perfect. Now I can choose exactly what I want, and I only pay for what I need.
Right now, with my biz plan, get our best price, as low as $25 a line. Visit Verizon.com/business to get started today. New lines only. Price per month with 5+ lines. Includes autopay and paper-free billing and promotional discounts. Taxes, fees, economic adjustment charge, applicable add-ons, prices, and terms apply. Guarantee applies to base monthly rate and stated discounts only. Add-on prices additional. Offers end June 30th, 2026.
You've handled drop-off, emails, and walk the dog, and it's only noon. With a full day ahead, you need a lunch that fuels what's next. Busy families choose Land O'Frost Premium Lunch Meat. Quality protein at a family-friendly price. Find Land O'Frost Premium at your local retailer.
After a major accident, one question comes to mind. What happens next? That's where Wilshire Law Firm comes in. With over 100 attorneys, we've helped recover more than $2 billion for our clients. Let the firm that's been recognized as #1 in personal injury settlements fight for the compensation you deserve. That's what happens next. For a free consultation 24/7, call Wilshire Law Firm, 1-800-ABCDEFG. Wilshire Law Firm won more top 100 personal injury settlements in 2024 than any other law firm in California, as reported by TopVerdict.com. Wilshire Law Firm is in L.A.